Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're going to be with the Vampire Counts, facing up against the High Elves here. Now, just before this battle, I had a very good battle up against one of you viewers using the Red Duke, where I had him up on a dragon, and I've been trying to get you guys some good Red Duke action just because he's one of my favorite lords, both in look and in, in kind of the way he plays. Very, very strong overall, but one of you, we played a battle and it just wasn't even close between you and I in terms of the build that I brought. I actually brought the Red Duke up on a dragon. Up against the High Elves, it's a huge risk just because they have pretty decent missiles. They have Nets of Ammontok as well as Tempest. They can really lock you down. Star Dragons as well are a huge threat to getting locked down and kind of sniped out of the air for the Red Duke. So I decided to workshop the build a little bit, and this is kind of my revised version, so let's see how it does here. We've got the Red Duke on the ground, supported by his Blood Knights here, who go very, very well next to him. They look excellent together. His spell loadout, he's got Invocation of the Heck, Dance Macabre for that speed and melee attack buff, as well as Raise Dead. We've also got the Varix Reavers and Regiment of Renowned Hounds on the other side there for another nice mobile force. And you can see we've got a huge horde of fodder, so lots of skeletons, lots of zombies, 4 skeletons, 4 zombies, as well as 2 skeleton spears, 1 on each flank, with a back line of Graveguard with great weapons, 2 of those, and the Sternsman in the center. So it's a very, kind of infantry-heavy army. I've got tons of bodies with which to throw at the High Elves just because they typically can't bring a whole lot of unit models. You can see we're already ahead on the balance of power, and the battle literally hasn't even started yet. And I outnumber him about 3-1 on the model count. So it's going to be pretty hard for the High Elves to cut through all these unit models here. Granted, these guys are going to do absolutely no damage to things like Phoenix Guard and Swordmasters of Hoeth, which my opponent has brought a few of. But the idea here is we use these guys. I've got 2 of these guys right here. The regular basic corpse cart. Yes, indeed. The lowly corpse cart, only 350 points. Has regeneration for itself. This is not the mass regeneration version just because it's a bit more expensive. However, it does still provide that nice Vigor Mortis buff. So +5 melee attack and defense to all units within the area of effect. So it is currently hitting these Graveguard here, the Skeleton Warriors in the front. So basically what this allows me to do is just have these guys trade a little bit more cost effectively against things like Phoenix Guard, Spearmen, basically all the High Elf units because they have such good combat stats. Even your elite tier infantry like Graveguard with great weapons are going to struggle to make solid contact with opposing unit models. So with that minor melee attack and melee defense buff, they'll hold a little bit better. The melee defense especially helps them just not quite crumble quite so quickly. Yeah, it can be good. It's not great against the High Elves. It works better against other factions that don't have such good combat stats because the High Elves, especially with their martial prowess, just have such good raw combat stats. It's really tough to compete. We've also got a Necromancer battery here in the center. This guy's completely stripped of all his spells. I actually forgot to cut this the Curse of Undeath here. But basically, he's just here to carry this Forbidden Rod and give me Winds of Magic recharge, extra recharge rate. So, yeah, that's all he's there for. For my opponent's build, he's got a Sun Dragon here. He's got an Ithilmar Chariot, which is the heavier High Elf Chariot. It does not have a skirmish attack, but has 110 armor, 70 charge bonus, 54 weapon strength with 24 bonus versus infantry. So very, very scary in melee if you don't have the right tools to deal with it. Thankfully, I've got heavy cavalry with which to respond. His infantry line is Phoenix Guard, 2 Spearmen in the center, as well as Swordmasters of Hoeth, backed up by 3 units of Lothern Sea Guards. So I really like this infantry corps up against the vampires, although it is very, very small. Lothern Sea Guard you don't really have to worry about too much. They have decent combat stats and an anti-large bonus. Spearmen have 50 melee defense, so they can cut through skeletons and zombies relatively easily, and they'll trade well against things like Crypt Horrors and, any other large vampiric units. He's got Teclis for his Lord and a Loremaster of Hoeth, as well as an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. The 2 picks that I most disagree with here are the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower and the Loremaster of Hoeth. If you were to cut these 2, you'd probably be able to afford another Sun Dragon and I do think that would be the way to go in this matchup. You can see this Sun Dragon is currently about to get some nice breath attacks, so let's go ahead and kick things into full gear and watch what happens. You can see said breath attack coming down, roasting some of these Blood Knights as they ride across the plains here, but a quick Invocation of Nehek, just the basic version, will help heal them of their hit points. You can see the Red Duke happy to ride along with his Blood Knights here. I could see my opponent coming in for a cheeky little charge here in the front, so we're going to respond with the Blood Knights and the Skeleton Spears. He rear charges quickly with the Dragon. I'm unfortunately not able to respond quite quick enough to get on him before he can get back up in the air, but we are going to give chase these chariots here, and we're going to pop the bubble version of the Dance Macabre to give these Blood Knights as well as the Red Duke some extra speed. You can see with that the Blood Knights are actually up to 87 speed, so makes them very, very fast. The main line engagement's about to get underway here. We're bringing up the fodder hordes here. The zombie arrow catchers are doing their job and catching lots of arrows for the corpse cart and the more expensive grave guard and so on. Zombies are going to be charging in here, but of course the Phoenix Guard are going to take almost no damage. You can see the zombies going down very, very quickly, and we are desperately needing some reinforcements, so we're going to bring in the Sternsmen as well as these Grave Guard with great weapons, bring in the Corpse Cart as well. We have caught these Ithilmar chariots over on this far side with the Blood Knights. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Varix Reavers and these Hounds are just going to be cycling in and out on this flank. We've already charged those Swordmasters of Hoeth once. My opponent makes a bit of a mistake here, trying to goon the Red Duke here, which is understandable. He's able to do quite a bit of damage, but this Sun Dragon is now stuck down in these Blood Knights. I've also got zombies and skeleton spears on station. We've been able to take out this Ithilmar chariot, and now this Sun Dragon's stuck down in here as well. Beautiful fiery convocation from my opponent, roasting a ton of my troops in the front line there. It was mostly fodder units, but it did do quite a bit of damage to those Grave Guard and the Sternsmen as well. You can see the Grave Guard with great weapons pushing through to the second line here, getting on these Swordmasters of Hoeth. They'll trade all right here, especially if they're still under the effects of the Vigor Mortis, which it does look like they are. We've got a Corpse Car on each flank, just kind of parked, giving some support. Very nice Nets of Ammontok by my opponent here, going to be catching these troops. He's going to countercharge in with the Lothern Sea Guard here. Honestly, they could probably just sit back and shoot the Hounds, and it would be just as good. But the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower taking some point-blank shots there. At this point, though, we have shattered the Sun Dragon, so I'm going to be able to bring the Blood Knights and Elseef up over into this mainline engagement here. Our number one target's going to be to get on this Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower and pick off Teclis, potentially. Teclis himself is trying to help see off those Hounds. And although Lothern Sea Guard do have an anti-large bonus, they only have 40 armor. So if we can break their bracing bonus with the Hounds first and then hit them with the Varix Reavers second, we should be able to do quite a bit of shock damage on the charge and, you know, hopefully take them out here. We've got a nice rear charge into those Phoenix Guard with the Blood Knights. We're going to immediately pull away and start to go after Teclis here. But let's go ahead and watch this as we break the charge with the... break the charge with the Hounds here, or break the charge defense rather, and then just absolutely smash them with the Varix Reavers. You can see those Lothern Sea Guard already wavering from the just amazing shock damage there. And a Teclis trying to flee here, but fleeing right into the middle of these Dire Pack, and the Varix Reavers and the Blood Knights. Elseef himself as well is getting in on this fight, so Teclis is in a really, really bad situation at this point. Balance of power is already very heavily in my favor, and although my opponent's infantry will be able to hold valiantly for quite some time here, you know, they'll be able to cut down pretty much all the infantry that I have left, except for maybe those Grave Guard in a late game scenario, but even still, I mean, over here, this unit of Phoenix Guard is trading very, very evenly with the Sternsmen and the Grave Guard here. So Swordmaster of Hoeth is supporting there, but at this point, Teclis is about to go down here. We have summoned some zombies to break the charge of these spears that were trying to come reinforce in this fight to maybe potentially spring Teclis free. And yeah, we're just in cleanup mode at this point. Rough battle for my opponent. I agree with most of his army picks, but there were just a few things that I would have changed here. And obviously I was able to kind of catch him on the back foot in certain situations. But with Teclis shattering there, my opponent's armies are not quite going to rout from army losses, but I'm going to be able to just mercilessly cycle charge with these Varix Reavers here and with the Blood Knights. So you can see the Blood Knights coming in for a rear charge, and my opponent is going to admit defeat. So well played. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. In terms of army compositions, I quite like this build. I don't know if it's necessarily the best against the High Elves per se, but against factions with when you don't want to go in the air and go with the double Terrorgeist route, This can be potentially very good. I'll have to do some more testing with the cheap corpse carts to see how well they buff things like, Crypt Ghouls against the Skaven and the Beastmen, for example. Other types of units. I'd be interested to test as well Graveguard with great weapons against something like a Empire Greatsword while they're under the effects of the corpse cart. So I might have to throw together some more testing videos for that. The front line, I mean, the fodders pretty much just died and didn't get a whole lot of kills. 20 and 26, though, on skeletons is pretty decent. And you can see these are the skeletons that were out towards the flanks, I believe, under the influence of the corpse cart, whereas this one in the center was not. You can see how badly they got crushed. Graveguard with great weapons and the Sternsman didn't get a whole lot of kills, but the main killing came from the Blood Knights here, killing off that Sun Dragon and the Thilmar Chariot, as well as helping to hunt down Teclis. LC showing his scariness in a melee situation, easily dispatching Teclis there. But in terms of my opponent's army, like I said, the only picks I necessarily strongly disagree with are the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. You're going to have a really hard time protecting this thing up against the vampires just because they have, zombie summons and lots of more unit models than you. So you're going to have a hard time protecting that. If you were to drop that, as well as dropping this Loremaster of Hoeth, you could bring another Sun Dragon. I do like the pick of the Lothern Sea Guard, Spearman, and the Phoenix Guard as well. Swordmasters of Hoeth are also very good here. You can see they took very little damage. And all these High Elf infantry are going to rack up a ton of kills against fodder units. The issue is, can you deal with the elite tier units? And, Lothern Sea Guard are a very safe pick in that regard as well. Good against cavalry, well, decent against cavalry and large units. 97 kills on these guys is pretty decent. The Thilmar Chariot is a bit of a meh pick. I mean, it's alright, but it's more situational. I'd maybe like to just cut this and get a couple more Spearmen or, something else. But let me know what you guys think, what you'd like to bring in this matchup. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this battle. If you did, hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I'll be keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.